Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Jack. Back again to talk about the Mistweaver nerfs, the state of the Fistweaving, and what you really can expect as these changes have hit live servers at the moment. So if you're not familiar, here's what's going down. Rising Sun Kick extends the duration of your renewing, enveloping, and essence font for 4 additional seconds. Now, it used to be just that. The most recent hotfix, which just went through on Tuesday on NA and Wednesday for EU, now caps the maximum hot extensions that you can put out to 100% of their original duration. Alright? So that means a 20-second renewing mist can only be extended an additional 20 seconds. Right? And it's all about their original duration. So that means is if you use Thunder Focus T and extend the duration of your renewing mist that you cast by an extra 10 seconds, then the original duration of that renewing mist, that one renewing mist, is now 30 seconds instead of the usual 20 seconds. So when I started going into this, I definitely think that it was a better change than the 2-second extension, which was the original proposed change. And I thought it was better because it was more favorable towards the general population of people playing Fistweaving, right? The people who don't have all the expedient gear that they could possibly want, the people who don't have phenomenal resources at their disposal to be able to get all the perfect corruptions. Now, as I've been playing with it, I still agree with that sentiment, but I think that there's some rethinking and there's some work ahead of the Mistweaver community to start making Fistweaving a continuously competitive build. So I went into my first raid and I wanted to play around with different corruption combos. The first impression I had is, well, it's going to be kind of difficult to make very good use out of enveloping now because it's capped out, but it's still pretty good if you can extend it, to again another full duration, right? As long as you're hitting it on targets that take a lot of damage. So originally I went with a build that dropped all my expedients, and I went from about 52% haste down to around 35%, around that region. And then I started trading out those expedients for Ineffable Truth. And it basically got to the point that I had like 4 or 5 ranks worth of Ineffable that I was able to hit renewing, hit kick, hit renewing, hit kick, over and over and over again. But I found 2 things. One, you're not quite able to get out high parsing mythic levels of throughput, right? You're not doing bad throughput. In fact, it's for most heroic raiders, it's probably pretty fine with or without the Ineffable Truth. But the Ineffable wasn't quite enough oomph to get through. So I started noticing that I actually had decent mana as well. So I started utilizing more enveloping. And the second problem came around, was that with mixing in enveloping and having low haste, I wasn't getting enough Rising Sun Kicks to fully extend my renewing mists, even while using Thunder Focus T on renewing mists as well. So changing out my Thunder Focus T to renewing mist to get a longer lasting hot there actually hurt the other hots because I was missing a Rising Sun Kick. So I started kind of editing and playing around with the playstyle, and I even tried going back to Degeneracy with full heavy haste and seeing if I could just get away with applying a lot of enveloping, letting them fall off, and just regenning infinite mana, and that didn't really work too well either. You kind of had to play it in a very awkward, almost 14-second burst type of moment, but enveloping just in a burst window is really not that strong. It was really long-lasting value that you were able to achieve, specifically on tanks or targets that had long-lasting dots on them. Like if you did the Void Ritual on Zanesh, for example, you'd have a dot the rest of the fight. So having enveloping just soaked up all the damage, healed all of it up before anybody else could react. So you couldn't really do that. So that kind of brings me to what I've been playing with right now, which seems to be pretty good, and it's what you'll start seeing in some of the later bosses as we go through it, is I started playing with a bit of a weaving build. I mixed some expedient together with some Ineffable Truth to the point where I was running with the mid-40s in terms of haste, and you can see the exact numbers depending on procs at the bottom through a lot of these VODs. I started running with additional levels of haste so that I could quickly put out a couple enveloping, specifically on tanks, extend them, but not sacrifice the renewing mist extensions that I was already playing and focusing with. I think haste is still quite valuable for making sure you can quickly get those hot extensions, but also so that you can take advantage of a full renewing mist window that is created for you. So a lot of times I found that you'll have about 5 to 8 seconds or so of time between when 1 or 2 of those renewing mists are going to start falling off, depending on how much you're able to get extensions on them. And that was what I was finding, was being able to burst some really quick Vivify casts into a narrow window was still quite valuable. I still want to try a little bit of crit and versatility in my build to see how it's going, but I do feel that a fast build for Fistweaving is still going to be much of the answer. But I'm curious to see what other people have tried out, and I'm sure I'm going to be checking out some of the logs as we get some more information, as people start trying new things, and continue to try to make Rising Mist work for the future. And if you haven't heard about it just yet, Rising Mist has been changed for the future, as well as this change has been implemented on the alpha going forward. Going forward, I think it's going to be quite a good thing, because if Fistweaving is going to be undertuned early on and they want to continue to encourage it, they can start working on that and working on that tuning from the beginning of Shadowlands, right? Coming into this expansion, Fistweaving has just been kind of all over the place, either too powerful or hasn't had enough oomph to make it work. Right now, we certainly have lost a lot of our ridiculous power, but I think Mistweaver can still be competitive, and it just requires a little bit different of thinking to get around a lot of the restrictions being put on it. To talk about Mistweaver a little bit in Mythic Plus, I also think that there's a bit more annoyance in Mythic Plus now that Rising Mist has capped its envelop extensions, because that was most of what the benefit of Rising Mist was, or I guess that would be the primary benefit that you were looking for from Rising Mist, was extraordinarily long-lasting envelops on the tank while you're still DPSing. Now, you have to babysit your tank just a bit more, and more frequent use of Cocoon helps mitigate that in quite a bit, but it is a bit of extra babysitting that you have to do. The other side effect of having Renewing Mist still lasting a long period of time is still there, and other fights like you'd see from maybe Galvatst or looking at maybe Kragmaw, some fights that have lots of burst damage where having Renewing Mist on everybody in the party is valuable. Those fights are still much better for us to deal with than they were earlier in the expansion. So I think the biggest thing is that you just need to focus the tanks more, and really, Mistweaver's already very good at that. I haven't noticed too big of a sacrifice in my damage, but I have noticed having to be more active and more proactive as well with supporting the tanks. So watch out for that. But let me know what you guys think. If you have any questions, feel free to drop by the stream and plaster me with them, as we're going to be doing plenty of Fistweaving in both raids and in Mythic Plus going forward. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you all found this helpful. Let me know what you think in the comments down below, and I'll catch you all next time.